It is 7 o'clock, so we'll get started again. Thank you everyone for joining the February 2021, the second year of start of COVID, Zoom meeting for Longmont Amateur Radio Club. So again, this is our general meeting. A couple of announcements. The splatter went out yesterday, which is our newsletter. And Jason, if you'd like to get a copy of that, we can send you a copy every month if you'd like. It keeps building up and building up. Our editors have done a really good job. When I joined the club about 4 or 5 years ago, it was just a couple pages. We're up to about almost 30 pages now of our newsletter. So if you'd like to be added for that, let me know. We can get you added to the list and get you emailed that every month.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'll get that in. I'll put that in the everyone group for you, Kat, so we make sure everybody gets it. Or actually, you have your own group. Never mind, I'll send it to you. So please check that out. There's some good articles in there. We did a somewhat POTA exercise this last February, or last month, I should say. Our first time of doing something like that. So it was a learning adventure for a bunch of us. Again, there's got great articles in there. As far as events, there's not a whole lot going on, with the exception of last night on the Hamlet Net. I made the announcement that sometime in March, probably the end of March, when it's a little bit warmer, we are going to have a fox hunt. I am going to make it happen, except our fox hunt is going to be a little bit unique and different. I'm in the process of building a SSTV fox. So not only will you hear the signal and try to track it down, you'll get pictures of the surrounding area. So it's kind of a little bit more fun and a little more potentially challenging, because now you got to download the picture if you want, or however you want to do it. But stand by for more details. We're trying to figure some logistics out, but it should be a lot of fun coming up in March, and get us outside and get some outdoor activity and some fresh air in our lungs. Other than that, I don't have anything else. Does any of the board members have anything they'd like to bring up?
Yeah, this is Mark. I just got one thing to throw out.
Go ahead, Mark.
I know from our last meeting, we were talking on antennas, and we talked a little about the mag loop, and I just wanted to bring it up. At one time, I know Ron had put together kits for the mag loop. I think it was several $100s. I'm not going to be getting around to building mine. I do have it here with all of the parts. Plus, I have the high power tunable capacitor that I got from Russia. That if anybody is interested, like I say, I've got several $100s into it. I'm willing to let it all go for 75 for somebody that wants to build it, rather than just stick around my house. So anybody wants to see about it or consider for the remote tuner and the parts and the board and the capacitor, let me know. And I'd like to see it go to a new home.
I'll take it if nobody else wants it, Mark.
Well, thank you, Chuck. Yeah, I'd contact him and let him know.
Yeah, just go ahead and pop me an email, and if you want to see, what I've all got. Like I say, it's all packaged from what Ron had given me for the tuner, and like I say, the original Russia capacitor is still in the box. So let me know, and we can kind of get together on that.
All right, thank you. Any other announcements from any other board members?
This is Steve for membership.
Go ahead, Steve.
I want to thank everybody for attending tonight. We do have a door prize available, so after the meeting, I'll work with the secretary, Pat, on the list, and we'll pick a random name, and I'll be notifying that winner.
All right, thanks, Steve.
Yeah, this is Brian.
Go ahead, Brian.
Our next scheduled VE session is on Saturday, February 27th. It is an ARRL session, so there is a $15 charge for the test. We're limited to the number of people that can be in the room at the same time due to COVID, so we'll give preference to candidates who pre-register, and you can do that by going to the club webpage, which is w0eno.org, and selecting the licensing testing link on the left, and then following the directions there. If you're ready to test before that, or if you just want to take your test online and not in person, You can do that by going to hamstudy.org and clicking on the Find a Session link. Just make sure you search for online sessions because some of those sessions are in person. I also wanted to mention Rocky Mountain Ham University. It's kind of an ongoing series of free classes and presentations. The next one they've got coming up is on WinLink. They're going to talk about using RMS versus point-to-point, and that's on February 23rd. There's sign-up links for the class and also videos, recordings of their previous presentations on their website, which is rmham.org. And then you select the RMHam University link at the top of the webpage. That's all I had.
All right, thank you, Brian. Anything else from board members? Does anybody in the general membership have anything they need to bring up?
Yes, I do.
Go ahead, Dick.
I am looking for the elliptical TV dish, the 32 by 22 size. And if you have some or know of someone that has one that they're not using any longer, most people don't know what to do with them. And I'm going to repurpose those. So I'm looking for all I can get. I could handle 10 or 20, 30 of those dishes, and I'll pick them up anywhere in the metro area. So somebody get a hold of me if you know somebody, and give me their name and address, and I can go by and pick it up. Oh,
Right.
and we're not going to have any Ham Fest in April. As far as I know, Boulder County's still closed. I have not heard anything new from them.
All right, thank you, Dick. Anybody got anything else?
Hey, Chuck, this is Steve.
Go ahead, Steve.
Hey, Kat and I are working on a spreadsheet for the general members to order some gear through Atomic Prints. So I'm going to be making some, Kat and I are going to be making some inputs to the webpage so you guys can order. So we're making it an option for you guys to either order and pick up or order and have it shipped to your home. So keep that in mind, and 7 3s.
All right, thank you, Steve. Anybody else? All right, the moment everybody's been waiting for. Jason, KM0AGY, is our guest speaker this evening. Jason, and this wasn't on the list, but I'm gonna throw it out there. Give us a little bit of background about you first, and then we'll go through the questions. And for those of you who joined late, Jason's presentation is more of a, like I said, a presidential debate per se. It's gonna be questions and answers. So he has lots of good videos on YouTube. Check out his YouTube channel, and thank you for being here. We appreciate it.
I am thrilled to be here with you guys this evening. And when you were asking for background on me personally?
Yeah, just a little bit about, you personally, and then we'll get into how you started with amateur radio.
Oh, okay. Yep. So I grew up in North Alabama, graduated from school there. I am a professional photographer by trade. We specialize in Little League sports. Met my wife right around 2005, 2006, and relocated to Tennessee, which is where she was living at the time. And then, well, that's kind of a short version of it.
That works. Thank you. So we have a list of questions. And if you do have questions in between that you'd like to ask, especially if it's on a particular topic that we're talking about, Jason's better known for his software compilation he put together called R.Pi. And basically it is ham radio software for the Raspberry Pi. And let me tell you, there's a lot of it, and it's been a lifesaver for me, and I've been using it myself. So really quick, how'd you get started in amateur radio?
A tornado that came through my hometown in 2009 caught me completely and totally as unprepared as any individual could possibly be. That tornado was an F4 in scale, destroyed about 850 homes, passed within 1,000 yards of my own home. We didn't sustain damage, but not only did we lose power, but we lost communication. So I kind of started down this journey of preparedness so that if we were faced with something like this again, I would be more apt to take care of myself, my family, friends, loved ones around me. As part of that journey, communications came up, and it was my brother-in-law who I'm still blaming for getting me into this hobby. He was a ham radio operator already and said, if you really want to know how to communicate when everything else is unavailable, this is how you do it. And I talked to him for probably an hour or 2 hours that afternoon, and was pretty much hooked. It was just something that was super interesting, that you could communicate with somebody across town, across the country, or across the world, and have no infrastructure between the two stations. That was absolutely fascinating to me. And it took me a while after that, because it was just part of an entire journey that I took over a probably 5 or 6 year period. So it was 5 years after the tornado when I finally sat down and took my first ham radio test.
Okay. Well, like a lot of people, a lot of people here became ham radio operators in 2013 when Longmont, when we had the 100-year flood that came out of the mountains and took out a good chunk of this area. So we totally understand that over here. What's your favorite amateur radio related activity?
Learning. I know that's kind of broad, but I absolutely love to learn new aspects of this hobby. There are so many different things that we can get into, but particularly right now, I've been doing some POTAs, or not POTA, but yeah, POTAs. I'd like to do a SOTA. There's not a lot of summits in our area, but that is something else that I would like to get into. This coming Saturday, I'm coordinating with a group out of East Tennessee. If we can get the snow and ice off of the roads to where we can get up to the top of the mountains, we're going to try a 100-mile single sideband 2-meter contact between here and East Tennessee. So I'm constantly wanting to explore and learn new things.
Oh, very nice. Yeah. Hey, come out to Colorado. We got plenty of summits out here. We got a 14er. We got a 14er right here.
I've been to Colorado. In fact, I took my wife back out there a few years ago and stayed. It was Capitol Peak. I cannot remember exactly where that was located, but it was one of your 14ers out there.
Yeah.
I told her, I said, if once we go to Colorado, it will completely spoil going to Gatlinburg, which is what we call the mountains here.
Yeah, I've been to Gatlinburg, so I understand.
It's beautiful, but it's not the same.
Exactly. It's definitely beautiful, and I'd highly recommend it to anybody. You gave us a little bit about background about amateur radio already. What made you decide on Build-A-Pi, the Build-A-Pi suite that you're known for?
It kind of just evolved. I had done a video series. I can't remember. There was 3 or 4 videos in that. I wrote this massive document that was literally step-by-step instructions on how to build a Raspberry Pi. You could go through that document and you could literally copy and paste your way through building the setup. The page is still out there. There is a note at the top that tells you it's out of date. Things have changed. But after that, I learned about bash scripting, and I wanted to see how much of that I could possibly automate so that you only ran one command and the script ran everything else for you. And that was the very beginnings of Build-A-Pi. I made a lot of mistakes in that first version, but you can thank COVID for giving me some time off work that I could completely rewrite that right around March and April of last year to give you what you see today when you download Build-A-Pi.
All right. Well, yeah, and it's a great suite, and I know we'll get more into it. So what was your programming background prior to this?
None.
Oh, on the fly. That loving to learn, right?
I took 1 semester in high school of programming. That's back in the days of BASIC. And that was the last time I had had any programming. I love computers, and to me, they're a puzzle to try to figure out. And one thing about programming, even if you've done nothing since BASIC, if you understand kind of the concept of programming, different languages, it's nothing more than a different syntax to do the exact same thing, at least at the basic level anyway. So that gave me, you know, because I did have that once upon a time years ago, that did give me some sort of knowledge when I started moving into Bash programming.
So next question is, give us an overview of R.Pi software suite, what it is, what's included, and how do you see people using it?
So the R.Pi is designed to make it as easy as I possibly can on somebody who's never run a Linux machine, never owned a Raspberry Pi. There is a lot to learn with Linux, but when you start talking about building programs from source and working with a command line, it frightens a lot of people off. R.Pi gives you a way to literally run one line of code from the command line, and it will walk you through step by step installing which applications you want on the Raspberry Pi. Now, it's not an image that you download and just boot up. I didn't want to go that route because I didn't necessarily like downloading images that I had tried in the past. I might only be looking for a select set of tools, and when it comes as an image, you get everything or nothing. With R.Pi, you get a choice, and you go through and choose exactly which pieces of software you need on your Raspberry Pi for the particular application that you're going to use it in. So maybe you just want to build an APRS digipeater. You can go through R.Pi and just choose the specific things you need for an APRS digipeater, and leave things like FT8 and JS8 call out of the mix so that it doesn't have any chance of slowing your system down. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. It's a super easy way to get started with the Raspberry Pi.
Okay. Yeah, I know there's another one out there that's popular too, which I think is called Ham Radio 2.0 or Ham Pi 2.0, something like that. And that's an image. So,
Yes,
and it's got everything on it.
Yeah, that's maintained by Dave Slaughter. I believe Dave is out of Georgia. So two different concepts, you know, and some people will download mine and want maybe something that's not in it, but it's in his. So they'll go ahead and run that image instead. So it's up to the individual operator as to what they want to choose, and choices are always good.
Exactly. So the next question is, why did you include the programs that you have in the package?
In the beginning, it was what I needed, what I wanted, what I was using. As time has gone on, I will add additional things that the community asks for if there's a large enough demand. If it's a one-off type thing, then I'm typically going to maybe guide you on how to install it on your system, but not necessarily include it in the R.Pi script. But if there's a big enough demand, personally, I don't run FT8. It's just not a piece of software that I enjoy, but it has a huge following, and there's no way you could leave it out of any build and call it a ham radio build.
Very true. Very true. Let's see. So what did I ask? I don't remember what I just asked. Did I ask about what's your favorite program in the suite and why?
JS8 call would be my absolute favorite single program in the suite. I absolutely love the weak signal capability, and I like a lot of the features that are built into it, and the fact that you can have an honest to goodness QSO back and forth with an operator. And that's kind of my thing with staying away from FT8 is I'd rather talk to people than just do signal reports. Contesting, that's good, but on a day-to-day basis, I like to interact with people. Yeah,
I'm kind of an analog vocal person myself, so I haven't played with JS8 yet, and I think some of the club members here have. FT8 is popular with a lot of our club members here, so We have a lot of people that got, a couple of them I think have hit all 50 states and everything else on FT8. Walk through the setup once a fresh install of Raspbian is on the Pi.
Once you've got the operating system loaded and you boot the Pi up, you open a terminal window and you copy and paste one line of code off of my GitHub site into the terminal, and you press the return button. Sit there and wait. It's going to install, well, it's going to update a few things. It's going to install 1 or 2 packages that it's required to present the GUI interface to you. And then it's simply going to start asking you questions. First one is, what is your call sign? And then depending on what applications you choose, it'll present you with 4 different windows of different applications that you can install. Depending on what you choose, it's going to ask additional questions. So if you choose to install the WinLink client, it's going to ask you for your grid square and your WinLink password. If you install the GPS, it's going to have you choose your GPS from a list. So it basically just kind of walks you through exactly what you want. And then when you get to the last screen, you hit install selected and sit back and have a cup of coffee or go to lunch. It's going to take it. If you install all of it, you're looking at probably a 3 to 4 hour build time. So most of the time, if I need to build an entire image, I'll start it, go through the first 4 screens, and I go to bed after I click install selected. You get up in the morning, you got a brand new Pi.
Well, that, or you can sit and read some of the little blurbs he's got in there too. He's got little sayings and things like that. So it's pretty cool. KM6SJA, Steve, you got your hand up. You have a question?
Yeah, I do. Hopefully you can hear me. It's a question for Jason, and thanks very much for the videos, Jason. How great, really big help. But there's one enhancement I'd like to see, which is if you could record the steps you took to do an installation, so you can then play it back if you want to recreate that same installation going somewhere else. Because I tend to do a lot of prototyping, so I use it in one step, then reinstall everything. And when it says that was made easy, that really, really help. What do you think?
Oh, okay. So if you needed to take and reinstall everything on a different system, the easiest way to do that is to make a backup. I've got a 4 minute video on how to make a backup of that SD card. And instead of having to rebuild every single application that you've installed, you can just clone it to a second SD card. It's a good practice just to have those as backups. And you could also take that and just drop it right into another Raspberry Pi and boot up. It would save you probably 3.5 hours worth of time doing it that way.
Yeah, I get that. I've got that set up. But if I want to recreate this image somewhere with small differences, I could edit the command file. It gets created and have the small differences created. It's icing on the cake, but anyway, just a thought.
Okay, we'll take that into consideration. And if you want to pop over to GitHub, you can create an issue ticket that we can mark as an enhancement.
Okay, will do.
Thanks, Steve.
We're going to get you some work out of this, Jason. Steve, KF0AGY, you got a question?
Hey, Brian. I'm a Mac user. Raspberry Pi is exclusively for PCs, or is there Mac programs that you can share with us?
No. So Raspberry Pi is its own. It is a computer in itself. And it runs Linux instead of Windows or Mac OS. I'm also a Mac user. That's actually what I'm working on right now. But you can pick up a Raspberry Pi for a little less than $100 if you get one of the higher end ones. And then all the software that's loaded on there is completely free.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right. Any other questions really quick? Ramon, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know. This is a Q&A section or whatever, or
well, we're just kind of it's question. Like I said, it's like a presidential debate. Let's throw out the questions.
Awesome. I never used the raise hand feature of Zoom, so anyway, yeah. Hey, so Jason, I'm a professional software engineer. I was wondering, like, are you looking for help? And if you are, what's the biggest area of help that you need? I've looked at some of the issues, and people ask all kinds of question, and I facepalm myself, and I'm like, oh man, he's got to deal with this stuff. But in terms of like programming and Python and stuff like that, I've seen you've gotten your hands dirty in Python code and stuff like that also.
Very little Python. 99% of it is written in Bash. There is a few things that I pull in from time to time that might be Python. But if anybody wants to or sees improvements that can be made, they can jump over to GitHub and make commits and create a pull request, and we'll see if we can get that pulled in.
Sweet. Thanks.
All right. And Mark, N7CTM, you got your hand raised as well.
Yeah, I was just kind of, wondering on this. I mean, I know there's, with the, the Pi and a lot of the programs that you can bring in, are you interfacing in doing some of this to some of the different boards, or more specifically, I've been reading things about using an Arduino and connecting it to a Raspberry Pi, to let the Arduino do some of the, functions where timing is critical, and that a Linux operating system is not always conducive for that. Do you do any work kind of across platform like that?
No, not up to this point. I haven't run into a project where I've needed it, and I haven't had a big enough demand from the community for something like that.
Okay, yeah, I was just wondering. I know some of the things that where timing is real critical, that you're not going to be able to get things that have to happen on a clock pulse. So, okay, thanks.
Yes, sir.
Anybody got any questions really quick before we go down the list? This is great. Is this working for you, Jason? Is this what you were hoping for?
Absolutely.
Outstanding. Outstanding. Yeah, we got a knowledgeable crowd here, so you'll be shocked at maybe some of the questions you get. So don't be scared.
Well, I get a little scared when it's a software engineer because I'm putting all this code out there and I have no clue what I'm doing.
Hey, that's what the ham radio is all about, though, right?
That's it. I'm learning on the fly.
There you go. Next question we had on our list is: have you run into any issues with ham radio related software requiring a Pi 4 versus a Pi 3, either for processing power or memory?
I will say I will not buy any more Pi 3s. I have several that are still being used to this day. In fact, I just rebuilt an APRS digipeater on a Pi 3, and it works perfect for that. Once you move over to the Pi 4, the 4 gigabyte model specifically, you will notice a huge difference if you try to go backwards and work with a Pi 3 again. As far as memory is concerned, the only application that gives us a problem during installation with Build-A-Pi is the FLDigi suite. And somewhere around a year, maybe 18 months ago, it started requiring more than 1 gigabyte of memory to compile the application. So we have to increase the swap size. So that's one of the things that Build-A-Pi just takes care of for you. It sees that you're only working with 1 gig of RAM on a Pi 3, and it goes ahead and increases that swap size or swap file size on the fly, and then resets it once it's done compiling the FLDigi suite. But that's probably the only real difference. If I was going to buy anything today, at a minimum, I would get the Pi 4 with 2 gigs of RAM.
That actually comes to the next question. And really quick, for those who don't know, on the Linux side, a swap file is basically virtual memory. So it thinks the machine has more memory than it really does. Kind of like Windows. They call a swap file on the Linux side. So basically for a Pi 4, you'd say the 4 gig is adequate, or would you bite the bullet and just go ahead and get the 8 gig version since they're not upgradable?
I've got both. And honestly, I can tell no difference with ham radio software between my 4 and 8 gig model. I move back and forth between them and notice no difference in speed or anything like that. The big difference comes moving up to a Pi 4 from a Pi 3.
Yeah, I've got the same thing. I've got 3, 4, 4 gig, 4, 8 gig. So yeah,
you should warn your crowd here. It does become addictive. Once you get one, you'll have a second one within a year.
second one, I've got, I think 7 of them floating around. I got one running my garage door, all kinds of stuff. So they are addictive, that is for sure. So you have a series of videos on the Raspberry Pi Zero. What limitations does it have versus a Pi 3 or 4?
And that project kind of got abandoned. I got sidetracked with several of the things that I want to get back to that Pi Zero project that I was working on. Pi Zero is very unique. It is limited in its processing power and its memory. And I would not encourage anybody to try to load a full-blown operating system onto it with a desktop environment. If you're going to get to working with or start working with a Raspberry Pi Zero, you're going to be running pretty much everything from the command line. To overcome some of that and make it a little bit more user-friendly, I actually put a web server on it and have it serving up a web page to where you can click different buttons to start and stop different services. But you get into the Zero, you better enjoy staying on the command line and tinkering from there without a desktop environment.
Yeah, and one of the things I have found the Zero really good for is if you're into DMR, they make great little hotspots. You go buy a hat, slap it on there, and you're good to go. And pretty much that's all I run my Pi Zeros for is DMR hotspots.
Now, are you downloading images for that?
Yes.
Or, okay, I didn't know if you was doing that or building everything from scratch.
No, I'm using PiStar, so I just use that.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not a programmer myself. I'm more of a hardware guy. I do IT support for hardware and Windows. Your Build-A-Pi script makes setting up a Pi for amateur radio use a lot easier. What are the main issues new users, new to Linux or the Raspberry Pi, might run into when using this tool?
The biggest thing with Linux is you are going to end up going to the command line sooner or later for various things. You don't have to do it often, but there are occasions you have to. And the biggest mistake I see are, well, 2 things: lack of knowledge, and they just don't understand the commands that they need to run on the command line. And it's one of the reasons anytime I go to the command line in a video, I try to explain even the very basic commands, such as an ls command that does nothing more than list what's inside the directory you're in. But either not knowing, and the other one that I see all the time is people don't understand with Linux that it is case sensitive. So if you spell desktop with a lowercase d, it's not the same as spelling it with an uppercase D. You can actually have 2 files in the same folder, name the exact same thing, as long as the case is different in 1 letter.
Yep. All right. And Ramon, you got your hand up?
Yeah, I was going to just make a comment about the Raspberry Pi 4 GB versus 8 GB. Right now, Raspbian is 32 bits, so it can't address all 8 gigabytes. But, you know, they do have a 64-bit version sort of in beta right now. So once they release that, then we should probably see a difference in performance between 4 gigabytes and 8 gigabytes, and since it'll be able to address the rest of that memory.
Do you know if they got the VNC server, the real VNC server resolved where it will work with a 64-bit? I'm
not sure. I'm assuming because real VNC works on other, like it works on Mac and Mac OS is 64-bit, and you know, and they also have it compiled for Windows as well. So I'm guessing if it doesn't right now, it will very quickly. And some people have been, you know, installing just regular flavors of Ubuntu and stuff, especially with Microsoft sort of sneaking into the back door of Raspbian. You've got a video out on, and yeah, that's all I'll say about that.
Yeah, that was a divisive video.
Yeah, I actually just installed Windows on a Pi the other day, so I've got one running here. So on a 4 gig Pi 4. So the 1 gig Pi 3, it works, but it is dog slow. But the 4 gig, it runs pretty stable, so I'm pretty happy with it. Other than the wireless capability is not there. So as everybody can kind of tell, the Pi is very versatile, and a lot of people do use it. And there's lots of information out there on Raspberry Pis themselves, made out of the UK. So another question is, tell us about the different ways to use use this in a various setups, like a headless, outdoors, in the shack, or is the main shack computer?
Okay, I'm going to kind of combine, I'm looking at the question
Please.
list here, and I'm going to kind of combine the next two to, or this one and the next one together.
Okay.
So you can run this in the shack and connect it up to a monitor, an HDMI monitor, keyboard and mouse, and use it just like you would any other computer, if that's what you want to do. The problem you'll run into is if you do get to where you've got 3 or 4 of these things, and you try to connect monitors and mice and keyboards to all of them, it kind of gets out of hand quickly. So you'll find that running them headless is a much better way to go. Now, running headless just means that there is no keyboard, mouse, or monitor connected to the Raspberry Pi. As long as they're on the same network, we use something called VNC that allows us to control that Raspberry Pi from another computer. So in my shack, my main workstation is a Mac, and then I can control any one of the 9 or 10 Raspberry Pis all from the Mac. I simply point VNC to the IP address of the Raspberry Pi, and then I'm able to view everything on the screen. Now, when we go into the field, I always assume that there will be no connection whatsoever, no internet, nothing. We're basically out there on an island by ourselves. So we've put something in Build-A-Pi called the hotspot. The hotspot works in 2 different ways. If you're in the shack, the hotspot will see your normal Wi-Fi access point that you would connect to when you're at home, and it will automatically connect to it. As soon as it leaves the area where it can no longer see your shack's Wi-Fi, within a 5-minute period, the Raspberry Pi creates its own Wi-Fi hotspot. Then you can connect other devices to it. And again, using VNC, we can control the Raspberry Pi. So we get the display using a cell phone or using a tablet. You can use another laptop, a Chromebook, whatever wireless device you've got that's got the VNC client on it. We can get into the Raspberry Pi and control it from there. Then when you come back home, you reboot your Pi back up. It'll see your shack's Wi-Fi, and it'll automatically connect to it. So it makes it really easy. Let me give you a practical example of this. I actually have a Raspberry Pi in my Jeep. And it's sitting there to control the Yaesu 857. When I pull into the garage, the Raspberry Pi sees that I'm at home because it can see my Wi-Fi in my shack, and it automatically connects to it. Once I pull out of the garage, within, and I've got mine set to check every 2 minutes. So within 2 minutes of pulling out, and it can no longer see my shack's Wi-Fi, it will automatically create its hotspot, and then I can use the tablet that's stored in the Jeep to connect to the Pi and play ham radio from anywhere. Really handy if your wife's out shopping and you're sitting in the car.
Boys with their toys. Like to have fun. Mark,
and she's
CTN,
still...
you got a question? Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Jason.
No, it's okay. I was going to make a joke. Go ahead.
Yeah, you'd mentioned having the mobile, and I know there's, we've had some discussion here, about putting them on mountaintops and unsteady power and corrupting the SD cards. Do you do anything? Are you running any kind of power management with the one that you've got in your car? So when you shut it off or turn it on, that you don't corrupt the SD card, or what do you use?
No, that Pi runs 24/7. So I never shut it down unless I'm going to be away from the car for two days or more. I've never had it affect the car battery to the point that the Jeep wouldn't start. So I pretty much leave it on all the time. I hear this argument a lot about SD cards and corrupting. I have been known to be frustrated with a Raspberry Pi and pull the power cord. No proper shutdown, nothing clean about it. It's as dirty as it gets, and I have yet to corrupt an SD card. I'm not going to say it can't happen, and I always recommend we have backups of all of our Raspberry Pis. But I just don't think that the SD card issue as big of a problem as what it was, say, 5 years ago or so.
Okay, yeah, I know on a couple of our sites that we've got them in, you know, in the mountains and so forth, you know, we've lost, you know, several cards, you know, whether it's around RF. I know when power spikes, I know even, you know, a traditional Linux system, you know, normally they'll recover, but I've seen a few that, you know, just depends on the shutdown that it can even, you know, corrupt it. So it sounds like you don't have that issue.
Now, have you thought about going to SSD and booting that way over the USB?
I haven't looked. Right now it's just been SD cards, and I know that you can do some things with the SSD, and I haven't done it, you know, myself with that.
Okay.
But my concern was, you know, with the vehicle, you know, I've looked in, you know, to some of the Pi juices. I've looked in, you know, there's some things that, you know, you can do a graceful shutdown. You know, I know some of the vehicles in the, you know, when you try to start a vehicle, you know, sometimes the, you know, the voltage will drop down when you hit the starter and would cause a reset. You know, because I've got some applications that I'm wanting to do some APRS and some things similar to you in the vehicle, but, you know, was looking more for a more robust power solution.
Okay, you might want to check out the Maker Focus power board. It's got a pretty wide voltage input to it that will keep it maintained at 5 volts. That's the power hat that I run on the vast majority of my Pis.
Okay, cool, thanks.
And we have one comment, Jason. Somebody just wanted to mention that when you're talking about a hotspot, it's a Wi-Fi hotspot, not a hotspot you might think of for digital radio like DMR or D-Star or stuff like that. So
correct. It can get it can get a little bit confusing, but it is a Wi-Fi hotspot.
All right, any other questions really quick before we go to our list again? All right, not seeing any hands. So next question we have on the list is tell us about Conky and its use.
Conky is really just eye candy. It's probably the first thing I would tell you to ditch if you was trying to just get a minimal build. It literally does nothing more than present information to you. But it does give you your call sign up at the top, just in case you're on the air and you forget. It'll give you your grid square if you've got a GPS connected. You can do a lot of cool things with it, and everybody loves Conky. It gives you disk usage, CPU usage, memory usage. It'll tell you the one thing that I really like about Conky is it telling me some of the background applications are started or stopped by just turning red or green on the desktop. That's probably the one, probably my favorite thing about it. You can't necessarily see when the rig control daemon is running in the background. You can go and search for it on the command line, check its process ID, but just having that visual indicator that it is or is not running can really save you sometimes, or at least point you in a good direction when something's not working correctly.
And I like it because it tells me the temperature, and with the Pi 4s and the fact that they tend to run a little bit warmer than the 3s, it's always good to know if you, in case you stick your finger in there and want 3rd-degree burns.
I think for field day this coming year, you got to remember, I live in Tennessee. It's usually about 95 degrees on field day. I think for field day this year, I'm going to take the fan, disable the fan on the Raspberry Pi, put it in the direct sun, and just see if it'll survive.
Well, send pictures of the smoke when it comes out, would you? I might just do that. But that'd be an interesting experiment, though. I might think about that as well. Except it doesn't get 95. Well, it can get 95 degrees here, but not like Tennessee 95. So the next question is, where can users go and get help and more information on Build a Pi?
If you go to km4ack.com, that's going to dump you into my web store. But right at the top, there is links to my YouTube, and there's a link that says tech support that'll take you over to the group.io forum. And that is the best place to head if you've got a question. I jump in there every morning and answer as many questions as I can. But if you have a question that's specific, say to an ICOM 705, I don't have that radio. And if I don't have it, I can't test and tell you exactly what steps to take if the Raspberry Pi is not recognizing the built-in sound card on the 705. And that's kind of the purpose of the forums, because other 705 users can tell you exactly what it is. And it might be a simple setting in the radio that'll fix it that I would be completely unaware of. So the forum is the absolute best place to start if you need help.
All right, thank you. And that kind of answers the other two questions, so we'll skip over those, but we'll go to this one. Is what do you see for new programs, updates, or changes in the future for Build-A-Pi?
I really don't know. It seems like it's constantly evolving. For instance, this coming weekend, I mentioned that we were going to try to do that 100-mile single sideband contact. As part of that, I wanted something that could calculate distance and bearings between two grid squares. I couldn't really find anything that was real super quick and easy to use. I did find a command line utility. I wound up writing a script this morning. It'll be coming out in Friday's video. Filmed the video today and it went out to patrons. Everybody else gets it on Friday. So a lot of times it's when a need arises or someone requests something. If you guys saw the last video, how to stream the GPS data from your phone to the Raspberry Pi, that's because somebody filed a issue ticket on GitHub and said, it makes no sense why we're not just using a device we already have in our hands. Why are we buying additional GPS units to plug up into it? I hadn't thought about it, but I agreed with him. So we sat down and we figured out how to make it happen.
Very nice. Yeah, I'm seeing you're seeing changes out there all the time. I haven't joined your patrons yet, so if you want to explain that a little bit as far as how that works with patrons and all that.
Yeah, so patrons are people that want to support the channel and support what I do, the time that I put in. As a benefit, they get a lot of behind the scenes content that no one else sees on the channel. They'll get some video content, some text content. I let them know what's coming up, what I'm working on. Sometimes they'll even vote on which video they want to see next. And I may change the priority for that. And then in addition to that, they get early releases to all of the videos. So they got Friday's video came to them today, and they get to watch it ad free. So you can join Patreon for as little as $2 a month, and you can go up from there.
And we don't mind people putting in plugs for themselves. We had Ed Fong last month talk about his antennas, so we may end up buying some of his antennas. So next question is, can you describe your YouTube studio, how it's set up, you know, the cameras you use, software lighting? So we're kind of going off of ham radio a little bit, but you know, talk about how you do your videos.
Yeah, sure, no problem. So the camera I'm working with right now that you're seeing this on is a Nikon camera. I told you guys that I was a professional photographer, and this was the absolute best camera I could put up here for webcam type interface. I use this anytime you see me doing a tutorial at the computer. I'm running this camera. Everything is fed through something called OBS, which is Open Broadcaster Stream. And the main purpose of it is it gives you the cool backgrounds that you see back here behind me that we can switch in and out on the fly. Now, once I leave the shack, everything's filmed on an iPhone. So, and I do have a couple of iPhones. I've got my primary that I carry every day, and I've got one additional. But more times than not, I'm filming with one single iPhone. Did you see the Sights and Sounds of Field Day video?
I'm still catching up with your videos, so.
There's one that I put out. I was really happy with the way it came out. I got a lot of positive feedback, but it's the Sights and Sounds of Winter Field Day. It's 6.5 minutes, and I don't say a single word in the video.
Nice.
So if you don't like it, put it in the comments, because I'm interested in all the feedback.
I'll have to check that one out. So yeah, I'm still trying to I've caught your channels. I saw it a couple. Well, I've been using Build-A-Pi probably about 3 or 4 months now. So I haven't had time to go out and look at all the videos and catch up with all your videos and stuff. So I'm still in the back end and trying to get caught up myself. But I know the videos you have done are very impressive, and you do a good job. And for the ham radio community, especially for new people starting out, very informative and very understandable. Whether you're an IEEE to a bus driver, anybody can understand what you're doing, and you're very you put it in a way that's understandable that anybody could understand it, from a 3-4-year-old all the way up to whoever. And I appreciate that, because we have some hams that aren't quite that. They kind of go over people's heads sometimes, and others tend to talk too low. So I mean, you're right there as far as the I don't want to. I'm going to say the average Joe. It works for everybody.
I just remember how it was when I was trying to learn Linux, and I would watch tutorials and try to do something, and it fails because I didn't have a dependency and didn't know what a dependency was at the time. So I just want it to be as easy and informative. And like I said, I know some of the guys that watch my channel all the time, they get tired of me explaining the ls command. But I try to remember there's somebody that's just tuned into my channel for the first time, and that might be the very first video that he's seeing. So for the more experienced guys, I ask, just for a little bit of patience, because somebody out there might need that little bitty piece of information.
Well, as hams, at least I've learned over the last 4 or 5 years being a ham, 95% of us are very patient. We're not going to, bash anybody, but like any hobby, you're going to have people are going to have their own comments and be brutal more than probably they should. But that's just unfortunately part of human nature, is the way I look at it. And shrug it off and keep going. So we did have one question in our chat here. It says, what's the best-selling item in your store? What's your favorite antenna? Your 49-to-1 EFHW or something else?
So the best-selling item is going to be the antenna or the metal name badges that I sell. Both of those are hugely popular. In fact, I'm waiting on resupply right now for some antenna parts, and the mini Ice Age has even UPS is not running around here right now. So as soon as I can get everything back in stock, those will be coming back to the store. Antennas, I'm known to use a lot of different things. For the last 2 or 3 months, I've been using exclusively my in-fed half wave, because I wanted to run it through some different type setup. So I ran it in a different configuration than I've ever run it before for winter field day. At home, I use one by TN07.com. It's his IMD 109. Again, it's an in-fed, and I'm running it with 132 feet of wire, I believe. But yeah, if I see something new and interesting, or somebody loans me something new and interesting, I'll take it and play with it at least once.
All right. Ramon, did you have another question to add on to that, or was that your question?
No, I just wanted to say that the Sights and Sound and Winter Field Day is an amazing piece of filming. I think it's great for people that are not ham radio operators that are interested in ham radio to watch it, because it's just a cool it's got warm fuzzies everywhere. And
well, thank you, sir.
My wife watched it and she's like, we need a cabin like that. I'm like, okay, awesome,
And Mark, did you have another question, or did your hand still raised from last time? You're on mute, Mark. Still on mute. All right, we'll come back to Mark. Oh, there you are.
Yeah, no, I didn't mean
Okay.
to. Thought the space bar would unmute this. So yeah, fine. I'll lower it. Thanks, Chuck.
Not a problem. It looks like actually Mike got to join us. W0KKI, your buddy there, Jason, you've been talking to, who got you to come to the meeting this evening. So we appreciate it. And it looks like, Mike, your question was, you said you turned in talking about the Jeep. What was the hat? My thing's blocked here, so I can't tell what it all says. Hang on a second.
He asking about the power hat.
Yeah.
So it's Maker Focus, MAKER Focus, FOCUS power board, and it's available on Amazon.
All right. Hopefully that answered your question there, Mike. And thank you for joining us. A couple more questions. Your grid down after action report video was very informative. How much training do you have to give your non-amateur family members to be on the other side of those communications?
As little as possible. It's our job as communicators to make it so that my mom can figure out how to respond to me. So if I can send her a text message or an email, which is something she does every single day, and she can reply to that just like she always does, that makes it easy. I don't have to teach her anything new. I don't have to train her where the PTT button is or what frequencies to be. It's what she's already using. So as long as they're outside of the area that's impacted, like we were on Christmas Day, my mom is still in North Alabama. Her cell phone service, her internet was all still fully functional. So using the tools that I have here, I could get messages to her. Now, we did run into some issues that I covered in the after action report, but we quickly developed workarounds on the fly. Email's not something she really uses near as much as text messaging. So when I figured out she wasn't able to reply to my text message, I sent her another text that said, I don't think I'm getting your replies. Check your Gmail account. And she did, and we had communications, from that point forward. So we need to make it as easy as possible for those people that are less tech savvy and just plain don't care about ham radio.
Well spoken. I love it. It's great. Did have one other question in the chat. It says, have you done any photography Pi projects?
No. No, I don't think the Pi would have enough horsepower. I wouldn't want to edit video on it, and I wouldn't even want to edit images on it. So
it works pretty good for SSTV though.
Yes, it does do that, but no, not beyond that.
Okay, so that answered that question. So we'll go on to the other one. We've got 3 more questions on our list here, and then it's going to be open forum. You do a great job speaking on your videos, no confusion or long pauses, etc. How do you do this? You write out a script for what you're going to say or demo? Do you use some sort of teleprompter? Do you do a lot of rehearsing, dry runs before recording?
I talk to myself a lot. Does that count?
Hey, that's practice. At least somebody's listening, right?
No, a lot of it is editing and experience. So I know when I have misspoken, and I know how to make that appear less like a mess up by manipulating things. So if I know that I've misspoken and I'm going to back up and re-say something, you simply zoom the camera in or out a little bit and you can make your cut right there. People don't even notice that it was an actual jump cut, because at the same point you jumped in the video, it zoomed out. So it looks like you're moving to a second position or a second camera. So no, I make a truckload of mistakes every time I film a video. And in fact, if you watch some of them all the way to the end, you see some of those outtakes.
Oh, so you do have blooper reels at the end. Good.
Occasionally, not often, but there might be an Easter egg in Friday's video.
Okay, I'll have to check that out. Next question is, looks like you've been making YouTube videos for a few years. What lessons have you learned regarding making videos over that time?
So being a photographer, one advantage I had is I understood light and I understood the limitations of cameras. So an iPhone is a great camera, but when you put it in a low light situation, it starts to fall apart quickly. It won't do near as well as my professional DSLRs will. But so the lighting side I had and I understood, The biggest thing that I had to learn was audio. Audio was number one for me to kind of up my game in video production, and then editing. When I first started, I can't even remember the name. It's the basic editing software that comes with a Mac. The name of it just slips my mind right now. Moving on to something that was more professional, where I could stack several different pieces of video content into the same scene at the same time, what was another piece that I had to learn to bring it up to where it is. And it's a constant learning experience, not only with ham radio, but with Linux and the Raspberry Pi, with video editing. There's a ton of stuff to learn. And if you just play with it every single day, you will learn something every single day.
And somebody posted iMovie. I think it's the name of the software we were looking for.
Yes. Yeah, that's it. I could not remember the name of it, but yeah, that was what I started with. And I took it as far as I possibly could, and then moved on. See that somebody was asking, what am I editing with now? It's DaVinci Resolve.
On the Mac, okay.
Yeah, and I believe DaVinci's cross-platform. I believe it will run on Linux, and they have a free version and a paid version. And I'm still running on the free version.
Oh,
it's
okay.
about as complicated as Photoshop is to learn. So you have to be prepared to spend some time learning and some frustration until you kind of get the basics of it figured out.
All right. Well, thank you for that. This is all great information. We appreciate it. So I got one more question on the list here, and we've gone through all the questions on the list. Is a recent topic on one of our nets was EMP protection for amateur radios. What are your thoughts on this topic?
I think I'm going to stay away from this because I don't understand enough about it.
Okay, that's fair enough.
I would have to defer on that one. I've seen everything on the internet, from using garbage cans to buy an old Abrams tank and park it or bury it in your backyard. I don't know what's right and what's wrong.
Well, it's the same thing with like grounding and bonding. There's so many different thoughts of that as well. Which is
another one I wouldn't touch.
Yeah, that's what makes ham radio so interesting. There's it's like life in general. Everybody has their own separate way of doing things. They all could be right. We just don't know which one's going to be the best way potentially, because we hopefully never have to run into those situations.
Bonding and grounding is right up there with religion and politics.
Yes, I think it is. And somebody mentioned Faraday bag, so which is good. So that's all the questions that we had. Does anybody, any members have any questions for Jason? Comments, suggestions they'd like to bring up? The floor is open. Kind of been open all night. Oh, here's a question. It says, are you a member of any local amateur radio clubs? And if so, what sort of activities are they doing during COVID?
So I belong to two clubs here locally in two different counties. One of them is doing Zoom meetings, just like we're doing here tonight. The other county, we still meet in person every single month. We have, I was going to say we haven't missed one. We did skip 1 month in the very beginning, and that was the only one we skipped. When we do go to the meetings, of course, we're socially distanced. They ask that you wear a mask the entire time, but we've never backed down from meetings excluding that one. So I think each club is kind of having to figure out what their members want. The one that's still meeting in person is a much smaller club. There's generally a dozen people at the most that's going to be at a club meeting. The other one that's gone to Zoom meetings, they may have 75 people at their club meetings. So you just kind of have to go with what your membership wants.
That or whatever the local government wants as well.
Well, in Tennessee, we don't have near as many restrictions as a lot of the other states.
Oh, okay, that you're lucky then, because we're starting to get back up. They're up to like 25% now in restaurants. I mean, we were closed. We were open for restaurants for a while, then we were closed again for a couple months. So it's been all over the place here in Colorado, like a lot of different states.
If you get to some of our bigger cities, Nashville, Memphis, Knoxville, they've got more of the restrictions like you guys do. Murfreesboro, I think we're back up to 100% in our restaurants.
Oh,
I don't believe there was a brief period of time where we were down to 50% capacity, but now I believe they've completely reopened Murfreesboro for 100%.
of course, the population is probably a lot smaller than some of our areas here as well.
Yeah, I think we're pushing 120,000 maybe.
Oh yeah, we've got that like in one town. Longmont, I think, is up to about 110, 120 now, I think almost. Little town I'm in, Firestone, which is outside of Longmont, we're about 20. Towns are pretty much right down County Road 19. We're both about 25 miles, give or take, north of Denver. So,
Okay.
you know, we avoid a lot of the Denver politics and stuff like that, but you know, we're still close enough. The one county that Longmont's in, which is the next biggest town in Boulder, is of course has their own political nightmares as it goes. So it's been fun, up and down, up and down. Another question we have here is, are you considering ICOM since they have sound cards built in? If not, what do you love about Yaesus?
If Yaesu doesn't get off of their rear end in the next 4 months, I will own an ICOM.
The man has spoken.
My first radio was a Yaesu, and once you learn a menu system and whatnot, it's kind of easy to stay with that radio. But that new 705 left Yaesu completely behind.
Yeah, I have an older, I have the 897D, and what sound card do you use with your Yaesus? Do you use a generic one or use a Signal Link? What are you using for your sound card?
I'm using an $8 sound card with every Yaesu radio I own.
Okay.
The 817, both 850 and both 857s, and the 891. They all use that Sombrant sound card. The only thing you have to make sure you have with that is you definitely have to have cat control for PTT.
Yep. That's why I went out and got the SCU 17 for mine.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm using that. It works really nice. You know, I've used it for some slow scan TV and from FT8.
I've got two Signal Links. One of them, well, they were both unused for probably almost a year, and I just put one of them back in service when I rebuilt the APRS digipeater, because I purchased a Yaesu 2980 radio. It's kind of it's one of their lower end 2-meter radios, but I think it'll do like 75 watts on high power, 35 or 50 watts or something like that on one of the lower settings. But the easiest way to get PTT with a Raspberry Pi and that radio was just to put a Signal Link into the middle of it.
Yep. And that's what I'm doing here for my Fox Hunt SSTV is I've got a Signal Link connected to an 8800 Yaesu. And I was going to use the Pi Windows, but because it doesn't do wireless, it's hard to control. So I've actually got an old Signet media display box, one of those small Intel processor boxes that I'm using for Windows and running the software on that. So.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, there's a gentleman, he's got software out there. He's the only one I found. He developed some SST software that has beaconing built in. So you can set up a timer and you can either beacon the same picture over and over. I'm trying to talk him into doing, try to do a slideshow type thing like the ISS does for theirs, because that software is not available to the public. I've looked, I can't find it anywhere. Or you could do it through a webcam. So you can do webcam shots, and it's only transmit, it's not receive. So it's not like MSSTV or QSSTV. But for a Fox Hunt, you're just transmitting anyway. So it's going to work out really nice for our next event. So
that software that you found, is that cross-platform or is that Windows only?
Unfortunately, it's Windows only. But I don't know if he's planning on doing cross-platform. He actually built it. Oh, I'm getting the information for you here. I'm looking up the gentleman's name. He emailed me this morning, and I got to find his information. But Paul Turner is the gentleman's name. G4AGY is his call sign. And he built this back in 2016. It doesn't look like it's been used since 2016. But I threw it on a Windows box on Windows 10 and it works great. And the only issue, there was a issue where I was trying to automate it as much as possible. So what he did is he went in and changed the program for me so that beaconing turns on automatically when you start the program. There's a 10-second delay and then starts the beacon. So I can set up Task Scheduler to run the program automatically, which will take care of, a lot of the automation stuff. And then he was going to look at maybe doing a slideshow type thing like the ISS does, which is ideally what I'd like to do, because that would be perfect. For like a fox hunt, you just have different shots already taken of your area, not even take a camera out or anything, and you're good to go.
Yeah, drop them into a folder, and then the application can just pick them up and broadcast them out.
Broadcast them out, slap my call sign on it, or the club call sign in this case, and you're done.
That should be a lot of fun.
I'm hoping I haven't seen anything like that. At least looking on the web, I haven't found anything that does anybody that's done like an SSTV type fox hunt. And I thought, let's do something different as a club and get people out. And I'm still working on logistics, like I said at the beginning of the meeting, but I'm hoping for a lot of fun and some excitement. And people get some things out of it, and hopefully get some decent pictures too. And maybe add points or something for, downloaded pictures and things like that.
Perfect. That sounds like a lot of fun, and you can do it outdoors. So maybe you can avoid some of the restrictions. Yeah,
that was the other thing. And actually, I think we're not even going to meet. I'm thinking about doing from this time to this time. There's a fox out there. Go find it. Here's the rules. No Doppler, Yagis or rubber duckies only. If you got a, oh, my mind just went blank to block the signal. Somebody help me. If you got one of those on your radio, that works. Thank you. Attenuator. My mind just went blank. Thank you, Brian. If you got an attenuator, that's legal, just kind of set some rules around it. All right, has anybody got any more questions for Jason? Any comments? I'm sure if you check out his software and you'd like to see something in it, you could, I'm sure he'll take it and look at it and see if it's doable or not. Let's see, there was somebody was writing in the chat about a comment that Darryl made about the EMP protection and the GoldenEye electromagnetic orbital weapon. So we do have a sense of humor. This group is.
You got to have fun with it.
You do. And then Mark wrote about why not Doppler? One must know how to use it and be close and understand limitations. Yeah, but I think it's that's more for the big boys. That's if we have a big event, maybe Doppler. Not everybody's got a Doppler that they can use to go out and hunt a fox. So, but so has anybody got any more questions, comments, anything they'd like to say to Jason? Again, Jason, thank you very much for doing this. We appreciate it. Like I said, I'm still catching up on your videos. I know lots of people watch them, and you have lots of good information. And I like to see, at least for me, I'm not a person like I got a voice for radio or a face for radio. I like to be behind it. That's why I do net control for my Hamlet net every month. But it's good to see, a newer ham get out there and explain stuff and, make it so that everybody can understand it and get more people involved in the hobby. Because I think that's something that this hobby was lacking. And I think as a really unique group of hams, we're getting better at that. And I'm starting to see more younger people get involved and things like that, which is a good thing for the hobby itself.
I can say this, if you start a YouTube channel with no subscribers and you put out one video a week, you're doing the biggest favor to yourself as far as educating yourself that you can possibly do. Because to create the content, you got to go figure it out. And I have learned more in the last 2 years than I learned the 4 or 5 years prior to that combined. And learning with the community. And now I do have a channel that's got a little bit of size to it. So often I put out a question on Twitter, hey, how do you do this? Or what can I use to do this? And that's the coolest thing about the ham radio community is if you ask, you will get a response. then again, you may get several responses and you have to figure out which one's the right one. But if you start putting out videos and you start studying, or you will start studying, and you will up your game in ham radio as well.
We appreciate that. And I know, yeah, I was looking at a channel myself at one point. I just never got around to doing anything with it. I'm actually trying to think about putting some of our videos on YouTube from the club and things like that, from some of our events and stuff, but I just haven't gotten there yet. All right, anybody got anything else? Oh, Brian had a question, AF0AGY. You mentioned Twitter. How big of an audience do you have on the different social media platforms? i.e., is it worth it to put the time in to have the accounts?
I don't spend a lot of time on anything but YouTube and Patreon. So Patreon is really another social media platform. Twitter, I post from time to time. I do enjoy the interaction there, but that's not where my audience really is. I've got, I don't know, 750 followers there. On YouTube, though, it's just crossed over the 12,000 mark. So I'm focusing where the people, you know, really are. Maybe I could grow that bigger if I spent more time on it, but I just haven't. I don't do Facebook at all. So I've never gotten off into the Facebook platform. Instagram, I've kind of been there and gone and come back, and I don't know, I've got a love-hate relationship with Instagram.
Yeah, I know a lot of people do. I actually got another question here for you. Vera HF is getting popular, but it's Windows only. Do you think it will ever come to Raspberry Pi since it's not open source?
Can I speak my mind here?
By all means, we're all open-minded here.
I think the WinLink development team should never have endorsed Vera. If you're not going to make it open source so that we can use it cross-platform, they shouldn't have endorsed it. That's my opinion on it. I'm an open source guy. You want to take my code and go do something with it, and this has nothing to do with the money side of it. I don't mind paying for software one bit. If they port it to Linux and they tell me it's $70 with no free version, I'll pay the $70. So it's not, I don't ever want to, anyone to think that I don't want to pay for software and that it should all be free. That's not it. I know as a developer myself, you pour a truckload of time into that piece of software. So it's not the money side of it, but I just think that it should be an open source project, or maybe not open source, that's the wrong term, a cross-platform project to be supported.
Yeah, because I see a lot of, you know, there's a lot of, well, fortunate enough, there's enough programs to cover majority of the ham stuff on the Linux side because they're open source. But I know there's a bunch of them also that are also proprietary. They're Windows only, Mac only. So being a Mac guy, do you use your Pis more than you use your Mac for ham radio because there's more programs available and software, or does it?
Oh, I don't have a single ham radio application outside of VNC on my Mac.
Okay.
My Mac is used in my photography business, and I'm very hesitant to load anything onto it. This machine has to function every day, all day long, without fail. So I'm very, very protective of what gets installed on this Mac.
Okay. And the reason I bring that up is we have a lot of our nets people have brought up, hey, I have a Mac, I can't find software for it, you know, things like that. So then they're forced to either use, was it Boot Camp or whatever it's called for the Windows thing, or dual boot, or go to a Linux Pi or something like that. But I think the Pi, so I'm glad you actually presented this evening, is a very nice, affordable, I don't want to say cheap, affordable, because hams are frugal, solution for ham radio operators that's looking to do software. I mean, for under $100, you can pretty much do all the digital modes. You know, it's got radio control with the rig control library for pretty much all radios out there. And there's multiple USB ports, so you can plug it into multiple things. and it makes it very nice and easy, and it's small. You can run off of a 9-volt battery for a little while if you had to. You know, and there's boards to keep it charged. So I think it's a great platform for ham radio, and it's very affordable. Then we can go out and spend our $1,000 on that ICOM 7300.
One of the biggest advantages of the Raspberry Pi is when you start going portable and you're working off of batteries and solar, that Raspberry Pi is only going to draw about 300 milliamps from a 12-volt source. When you have to recharge your laptop, and I don't care what it's running, I'm just talking about a 15-inch laptop, you're going to be drawing 18, 19 volts and a minimum of 2 amps. So that was kind of a big thing for me, was when I went portable, looking at power consumption for each of the devices I was taking.
All right. Anybody got anything else? Questions, comments? Oh, somebody just put up a Echo Mac Echolink client. I guess there's a Echo Mac Echolink client on sourceforge.net, echomac.sourceforge.net. So if you're looking for a Echolink client for your Mac, there you go. Thank you, Darryl. Appreciate that. Anything else? All right. Again, Jason, thank you very much. We appreciate it. I'll get you added to our mailing list for our splatter.
Yes, please do. And guys, thank you for having me this evening. This has been fun.
Yeah, and one of the things I did as the club president, I told the board last year and this year, said, you know, I wanted people that that necessarily aren't local. So I'm glad that somebody found you, and you know, like I said, we got Ed Fong in January. So you know, he makes antennas out on the East Coast or West Coast of California. Yourself. We have a couple other people we're trying to get from different things like what is it? One the radio talk show, ham radio shows, and some other people. So you know, again, I wanted to kind of spread it out and do something other than local and something different perspective. And build a Pi is, to me, because I worked on Pis for years now. This has been totally interesting, and I use it. In fact, I've got to build a Pi connect to my 897 as we speak, sitting over there with a 2.5-inch display on it. So
a couple of suggestions. Have you guys had Bob Heil on?
Bob Heil, I don't think we have.
From Heil Sound?
No, we haven't had him in this club. Our sister club up in Northern Colorado had him a while back, and he does a very good presentation. It
is absolutely fascinating. It's the best 2 hours you will spend. You get a history lesson, and you learn a lot about sound and acoustics and all. Invite him if you can get into his schedule. You guys will not be disappointed. The other one, if you want to learn anything about JS8 call, Jordan Shearer, KN4CRD, I believe is his call. And I know he's making the rounds in different presentations like this as well.
All right, well, thank you. I'll have to look them up. Yeah, and somebody mentioned Dave Kessler, which I've talked to Dave Kessler. He used to be a member of our club many moons ago, Mr. OG. So he was actually supposed to be our Hamfest last year, but unfortunately got canceled. So I'm gonna try to get him to do a talk as well. He's living on I believe the west side of the mountains over here now. So Colorado.
Oh, okay, cool.
Bob Heil's booked up through November, so you better get a hold of him soon if you want to schedule him for something farther out. I saw him on something the other day.
All right, thanks, Chuck. Appreciate that. Maybe we'll try to get him for early next year. If he's booked out that far, I'll take 2022. I'll take speakers wherever I can get them. So keeps the club interesting and people coming in. So
he's one of those presenters you will not mind watching twice if you've seen him before.
That's what I like to hear. That's the kind of presenter I like. So, and in fact, if you ever do anything else or you ever want to come back, let us know. We'll be more than happy to have you come back as well. If if you add to the Pi or you get a bunch of new programs or whatever, and you'd like to present again, let us know. We'll be more than happy to have you back as well. And you're welcome to come join our meetings on the third Wednesday of every month too, if you like, and see what other people talk about.
Don't let my wife hear that. She'll be wanting to take a road trip. She loves Colorado.
You know what? It's definitely a nice place. I moved out here from the Chicago area, and I've been out here 12 years now, and I don't think I'll ever go back to Chicago other than to visit.
But if you're
So-
in Denver, you're still in the kind of the flat land. Don't you have to get an
No.
hour west of Denver before you really get to the mountains?
Well, where we sit, we're at about 5,000 feet, give or take, 4,800. But Rocky Mountain National Park, the entrance is only 30 miles west of here.
Okay.
30, 35 miles, depending where you're at. So,
Okay, so it's only about a 30-minute drive then.
yeah, it's not bad. So we have several of our members go up to Rocky Mountain National Park all the time and try to activate the park and things like that. So, but it's a lot of fun. All right, has anybody got anything else they'd like to bring up before we let Jason go? Oh, okay. It looks like I got a video. I had my background kicked on for some reason, so it was getting all kind of blurry there. All right. Well, again, Jason, thank you very much. Look forward to more of your videos. And again, the comments are coming in. Says thank you, Jason. Very interesting. So, thank you again, sir. And if you ever get out
Thank
this
you
way,
guys
let
for
us know.
having me.
We'll take you out for a beer or something and talk ham radio.
There we go. All right. Have a great night, guys.
You too. Thank you.
Bye-bye. 7-3.
All right. Anybody got anything else they want to bring up before we close the meeting this evening? Nothing? Nothing? Going once?
I got a quick question.
Go, Chuck.
I don't know if you can help or not, but I've got my chat open, but I only see chat from like 3 or 4 people. Like half the questions you read, I'm not seeing. Is there some setting I should change? All I could see is Darryl and Mike and Bryan.
Did you scroll up? Maybe you missed something. Maybe
yeah. No, I did all that. There's just nothing there for some.
No,
reason.
you should be able to see everybody. If it's sent to everybody, you should be able to see everybody's questions.
Yeah, some people may just be sending the chat items directly to Chuck, and then other people don't see them.
No, Jimmy's got the same issue where he's not seeing seeing everybody as well. Because most of the questions I had, maybe I think 2 direct messages, and that's it. Or maybe 3.
Yeah, they're not going out to everyone.
There were several that went out to everyone.
Okay. Yeah, I just thought everybody was replying to everyone. So
yeah. Oh, I missed one on here from Ramon. Sorry about that. About the you made a comment about and counterpoise versus no counterpoise. Sorry about that.
Yeah, well, you guys were talking about religious things, and I was like, well, counterpoise versus no counterpoise is definitely not a religious argument.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so everybody like the speaker this evening? Did keeping up with trying to get people outside of the local area, does that make everyone a little bit more eager to come to the meetings? I mean, I'm trying to keep it exciting is what I'm trying to do.
Absolutely a great idea. Glad you got Jason on here. I've had a Raspberry Pi sitting on my bench for probably 3 or 4 years now, and I now have something to do with it. I'm going to go to a new build of Pi, and
there you go, Jerry. Have fun with that.
Perfect.
Well, you could thank Mike for this. This was all his. I can't take credit for this one. So
great.
Thanks, Mike.
Yeah, W0 KKI.
Jason's awesome. I love him. I've watched all his videos and stuff. So he's a great guy. So thanks for having him here.
Oh, you're very welcome. So we try to keep it interesting. Next month I have to look at the schedule. I don't know who we have, but it should be interesting as well. I believe is next month.
ATV.
Yeah, ATV. Okay. Amateur TV.
Yep, Jim Andrews from the Boulder Club, and that's all that needs to be said. Jim Andrews. he knows about. He's Mr. ATV for sure.
There you go. Something different that I don't think I've ever heard a presentation on. So, yeah, when I got in this position, I kind of challenged the board to try to, kept having some of the same stuff over and over, and I wanted to spice it up a little bit and keep it interesting because our membership keeps growing a little bit. We keep getting a lot of new members, and a lot of you new folks. Congratulations on getting your tickets, and welcome to the club. If you're not a club member, still welcome. We're just trying to keep this as fascinating and interesting as well, because once we lose that, we lose interest and we'll go find something else to do. And I really keep interested in this. because there's all kinds of facets that you can do with ham radio. And one more thing, I mentioned the SSTV thing. Again, look for emails on that. I'm shooting for the end of March. I've got some more testing to do, but I think we're going to pull this off, and I'm going to try to start having those on a regular basis. If not quarterly, monthly, just one day, just stick a Fox out somewhere and say, okay, go out and find it. Let's see what we can do. Anybody wants to participate, get to participate. So study up on your radio transceiver receiving skills. There's lots of videos out there on fox hunting and antennas. Be interesting to see if anybody makes their own antennas. I've built a couple of Yagis out of tape measure and PVC myself. They work very well. So, especially now that you get the little Nano VNAs, you can tune those puppies right up. And also, as a reminder, Mike just reminded me, he doesn't want to go off mute. We're also going to start doing POTAs regularly as well. So keep an eye out for that. Parks on the Air. We're going to try to do more of those as well. Mike and I learned a lot the last time we did it last month during the winter field day. One, wear a warmer jacket because when it gets cloudy and the wind starts blowing, it's cold out by a pond. And things like that.
Hunt? On your Fox Hunt, what band are you going to transmit on?
It's probably going to be on VHF. Of course, it's going to be, simplex. And I'm looking at, right now I've been testing on 145.6. So Ted, if you turn your radio to 145.6 on occasions, you might actually hear me transmitting because I've been doing some testing. Normally I stay under the 10 watt range as much as I can because I'm testing to see how far I can get on 10 watts. I'm going to be using an icon or a Yaesu 8800 attached to a signal link, attached to a miniature Windows computer, all going to be off the grid on batteries. And I'm using an Edfong tri-band antenna as the antenna for transmitting.
Hey, Chuck, this is Scott.
Yes, Scott.
How are you?
Good.
Along those lines, I'm just curious. I know Skylar was really interested in the fox hunt, and I am as well, but I don't have a lot of equipment there to get started. With it being TV based, do we need special equipment, or can we still build our own antenna and play around with our cheap Baofangs for this?
You can use your cheap Baofangs. The reason I went with SSTV is one, you're still going to get, basically you're tracking a signal, trying to find out where it gets stronger and stronger and stronger. I just added the SSTV part if you want, because SSTV, you could take a cell phone. I think Android has multiple programs that are free. Apple, I think, has one or two, but they cost like $2 or $3. You put your radio to your phone, it'll decode the picture for you right there on your phone.
Okay, that's kind of what I was wondering.
Or tablet or whatever you might have.
We can do it like we did in class.
So we're talking minimal.
Okay, perfect.
No.
I just thought if I needed equipment, I need a lead time to prepare for it, but it sounds pretty straightforward. Okay.
Very straightforward. People have done fox hunts with rubber duckies. It's not as easy as a directional Yagi, things like that, but it can be done. The recommendation is to do something with like a Yagi. And you could build a Yagi antenna for a couple of bucks. Like I said, I've built one with PVC, some tape measures, zip ties, and a piece of coax. And I used it for a Hamnet to the repeaters one night back in, I think, was it May last year? Or maybe it was even prior to that. So it can be done on the cheap, and that's kind of the whole concept is how can we do this with the basic amount of equipment and still have a lot of fun and do something different. As far as SSTV goes for newer hams, on occasions the ISS will transmit SSTV images. My first one I picked up was on my little Baofeng. It wasn't on the rubber ducky. I had a wire antenna on it, one of those signal stuff antennas, but it came in just fine. I decoded it right there on my phone. Actually, it was in the parking lot at work. So it can be done. Does that help, Scott?
Yeah. I think I know Skylar wants to build one of those out of a tape measure like you suggested. I just wasn't sure if there was anything special we would need, but if we can do it with an Android app like we did in class, then that sounds really exciting. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, and there's all kinds of places online for the antennas as far as measurements go. You know, if you want to even try to tune it even more, to get it more closer, I mean, you know, you can tune it with SWR meter if you have one, or check with the club. You know, a lot of us have nano VNAs. Some of us have tuners. You know, I've got, like I said, this mini 1300, which is like a VNA. It's just got extra capability on it. Let me know. I'll be more than happy to let you borrow it to tune your antenna. You know, I got no problem with that, because I'll tell you, the first time I built my first Yagi VHF, SWR was just off the charts, and it ended up being a bad solder connection on one of my wires. So I ended up taking it almost apart, putting it back together, resoldering everything, and then I got the SWR within, I think it was like 1 to 1.5, 1.6 to 1 or something like that. So, you know, they're pretty accurate. They're pretty good. And like I said, the only thing I would recommend with tape measure antennas, be careful when you're cutting them. They are sharp, and I've got several cuts to prove it. So I would recommend using gloves when you do that. Ramon, you got your hand up. You got a question, sir?
No, that was by accident. Sorry.
Oh, okay. And if you look at the chat, there's several people have got links to download the applications for Android, iOS, things like that.
Yeah, not seeing that.
You're still not seeing that?
No.
So you have your chat box open though?
Yeah, I got rid of all the people and no more participants. I only have chat.
That's weird that you're not seeing everything. I'll have to look that up and see if there's a setting somewhere, because you're I thought by default.
I'm also using the web app.
Yeah, but even on a web app, you should still be able to see everything. Because it's you know, it's same like the app is just web based. I'll have to look that up and see if I can find it for you, Jimmy.
Yeah, I'm on a Evo Windows system, so I don't want to install any software I don't have to on it.
No, understood, and should work fine. Even in the web version, it's just a matter of why it's not showing up. But because you're seeing some people's chats, right? Just not everybody's.
Yeah, Brian.
Okay. Oh, so you are seeing Brian's with the links, at least, for the Google Store and stuff. Did you see Darryl's prior to that?
No.
Okay. Huh. That's something I'll have to research on Zoom. Zoom, unfortunately, has so many different quirks, and they keep making changes. I know, I think it was last week or the week before, they made like 2 software changes in the same week and updated their client. So they're usually for the better, but sometimes it can possibly break other stuff as well. All right. Anybody got anything else they'd like to bring up this evening? I'm not seeing anything in chat or anything, so.
Thank you.
All right.
Awesome.
Again, I want to thank everybody for attending. And Tuesday nights, check out Jimmy, K0VEZ. He's been doing the HamletNet. He's going to do it for a couple more weeks for me. So check him out. Come join the HamletNet and come participate and have some fun. Topics have been interesting, and we try to keep it that way. All right, Mike, W0KKI, thanks again for getting our presenter this evening. I appreciate it. And as always, stay safe out there. Yeah, I'm going to try to get the recording either on the website, Mike, or I've been trying to build a YouTube channel that will post them out there with links off the website to them. So I'm going to start posting our presentations so people who miss them can go out and check them out, or check them later for a second time if you miss something. So I'm still working on that. Hopefully we'll have that up here soon. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. Have a great evening, 73, and we'll chat again. Night, everyone. Good evening, everyone.
Hey, Chuck.
Hey, Dick. What's going on?
Not too much. I got on a 40-meter net. I was invited to join last weekend, so we meet Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 23:30 UTC.
Cool. You actually made it into the net, huh?
I did.
Considering sometimes those are touch and go, especially on 20 and 40 meters these days.
Yeah, the guy that sort of the moderator, leader of the group is in Arizona, but he's from Wichita, Kansas. And another guy was from Wichita, happened to have a really potent signal. My God, I thought he was our neighbor or something. He got me right out of the shack, and he was a suffix that I needed. So I tried to work him, but he had signed off. I got on late today, and he'd already signed out. So
Well, at least you didn't.
Suffix, but I'm down to like 69 to go to have all 702.
Nice.
Yeah, it's been fun.
We're slowly coming in, so you're more than welcome to chat, do whatever. I did confirm, it looks like Jason will be on with us this evening. Who's our guest speaker, so I just got to get out the stuff for that. I'm just trying to get organized and ready to go here for tonight, so. Anybody got anything new going on?
I know, I don't want them to all speak at once and then jam everything up.
It's called a pileup.
Okay. A lot of faces I don't know, never met, never heard you on the air, guys.
Hi.
Get on repeater during the week, during the daytime. Old farts like me is sitting around with nothing to do if you don't get on. There's nobody to talk to.
Also, I'd ask if you don't have your call sign next to your name to please do so. Thank you. Makes it easier for Pat when he gets on to take notes. I'm assuming Pat's going to be with us this evening.
Well, I got on homeowners association and it still had my call sign, so I quickly signed out and took it off for the homeowners meeting.
I've had that happen at work. I figured out why. So.
Yeah, I've had it happen at work when we were using WebEx and a bunch of it. So at least Zoom is fairly easy to change it.
Yeah, and allegedly the newer versions fix that if you have multiple accounts where it doesn't fail over like it's supposed to. Because that's what my problem was. It would keep my log, it would keep my name, even though I was using my credentials for work.
Yep.
So, all right. Where the heck is that? And I actually messed up. Our guest speaker this evening is, I'm glad we have one, but I originally forgot, I lost my emails late last year. And I had actually talked to Ward Silver about giving a presentation. And he got a hold of me and said, hey, you still need me for Wednesday night? Like, oh, I'm sorry. I lost all the emails and stuff and I couldn't remember if we confirmed it or not. So he's going to do it later in the year, do a presentation for us.
So what's tonight?
Tonight, Jason, KM4, I think it's ACK.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he does the build a pie with all the ham software. So Mike, our vice chair, was supposed to be doing the stuff with him tonight, but unfortunately he is got a test he's got to take for a job. So he, I'll be doing the speaking this evening, which everybody's used to that anyways, because I like to talk, and that's why I make a good net controller.
Now we can all ramble on. I see Steve 0M0FTI. Talk to him on the repeater. Good to see you here tonight, sir.
Forgive me, I got a set of headphones on here.
I know.
Chuck, you don't even you don't let us get in edgewise.
Hey, I tried to let you get edgewise. You notice I just shut up just now.
Uh-huh.
Oh, we got a new recent member anyway, with Jeff KF0CFA on tonight. That's good.
Oh yeah.
New guys getting on the air. I think that's the hardest part, is getting new people to get on the air and be active. And,
well, that's part of the reason why I put that net list together, so people can get on, listen to nets and join them and get used to talking and things like that. So, good evening, Pat.
Good evening, everyone.
You don't have your call sign up there, Pat. You're a bad example.
Okay, I'll fix it. How's that?
There we go. I might forget it since you're not here anymore, you know?
Yeah.
I was gonna, let him see if he figured it out. Give him a little bit.
Better?
Mark,
yeah, there
what
we
is your
go.
background?
It's Mount Thornton. Colorado Connection has got a repeater up there. That's actually the main one that covers Denver. That was a trip we made to rebuild the site this fall, or actually this winter.
That's one bunch of antennas.
I know, and the whole front of the building is all the microwave dishes are inside. It's all plexiglass that looks down into to Denver.
Hey, Mark, how you doing?
Good. Trying to keep warm. Have to bring my bicycle and come down to Arizona and thaw out.
Well, you really should do that. It's been kind of cool the last couple of days. Highs in the low 60s. Been kind of cool.
we didn't want to hear that, Pat.
I know you don't want to hear it. Too bad. How are you, Chuck?
I'm good.
That's good.
Sorry, I made some changes here and I threw myself off.
Yeah, I'm trying to get everybody in here.
There we go. Now I can multitask better. I've got a external monitor that I have hooked with Chromecast on it, and I'm actually casting my desktop to the monitor so I can keep Zoom up there. So I got a bigger screen than I got my other screen in front of me. So.
Well, I got my little laptop. That's all I got here in Arizona. Hey, Steve, what's your call sign?
AM6SJA.
It's what? AM?
Kilo Mike 6 Sierra Juliet Alpha.
Kilo Mike 6 Sierra
Juliet Alpha.
Juliet Alpha. Okay.
Fix it on iPhone's phone. There.
And we got Jason. KM4 ACK. Oop.
There we go. Everybody still hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Sorry, I switched screens again and blew everything up. So did everybody read the splatter this month? Got around to it yet?
No.
No.
Okay.
First page to see what time the meeting started.
And it was pretty good. I didn't get any emails looking for the link tonight, so
That's
it was
good.
a good day.
Well, we still got time. You got 20 minutes there, Mark. And Jason joined us. Good evening, Jason. Welcome to the LARC general meeting.
Hey, good evening, guys. Give me just a few minutes and I'll have video up here.
Oh, you're good. We got 20 minutes. We do like a little meet and greet a half hour prior, and then about 10, 15 minutes to go over business for the club, and then we start the presentation. So
Sure. And did he tell me you were going to be asking the questions this evening, Chuck?
yes, yes.
Okay.
I'll be doing that for you.
Okay. I think he said he had something last minute that kind of came up with his work.
Yeah. Unfortunately, he couldn't reschedule it. He tried because he really wanted to do it. So, and we thank you for doing this for our club.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad to be here this evening.
So what's the weather like out there for you?
A mini ice age, which is unusual for this part of the world. We're expecting now. You guys out there will laugh at us, but we're expecting 2 to 5 inches here overnight, and that will pretty much paralyze the state of Tennessee.
Yes, it will. Well, we're only getting about 1 to 2 inches, 3 to 4 closer to the mountains, but it's been cold here. We had, I think, one day over 32 degrees. That was like yesterday or something. Today was hit 31, but we were in negatives and single digits earlier in the week. So I look forward to it. 30 degrees out.
Yeah, I'm not sure how warm it got up to today. I want to say 27, maybe 28 degrees was warmest. Yesterday, it only got up to about 14 degrees.
Yeah, but you still got that humidity over there in Tennessee. I grew up in the Chicago area, so I know what it's like.
Not during the winter.
Oh,
Not
really?
during the
Okay.
winter. No, the humidity will drop down. I mean, it's still more than what you guys would experience there, even during the summer. But probably 30% humidity a lot of times in the winter.
Oh, that's not bad then. Okay. Yeah, I grew up in the Chicago area, so I'm used to, 20 degrees is not 20 degrees.
It's cold, clear to the bone.
Yeah, especially when you got to walk over the Chicago River to get to work and the wind's blowing at 20 miles an hour. I do not miss those days. All right. And Jason, did Mike send you the list of the questions?
Got to remember to unmute myself. Yes, he did.
You're good. Okay. Good. Anybody else got anything else going on? I want to thank again everybody who's joining. That net list has had quite a bit of feedback from people on the net list. So thank you for the going out, checking to make sure there's still active nets and finding ones that aren't on the list and things like that. So I think we got one of the most, probably one of the most accurate lists that are out there. So thank you again for taking part with that and trying to help out with that.
Hey, Chuck, do you want ShyY list?
Of nets? Yeah. Yeah, we'll take that.
Okay, I'll send them to you.
I'll add it. I mean, because some of us over here, not everybody's in the Longmont area. We've got people, members up in, Greeley and other areas, a little bit farther east of Firestone. And some of us here in Firestone may even be able to hit some of those nets potentially, depending on how high we can get our antennas up.
Well, it might be because the antenna's up pretty high.
Yeah.
And Cheyenne's up pretty high too.
Yeah, exactly. Because I know I can hit Horsetooth without a problem here in Firestone. So what's another, 25, 30 miles?
It's from Fort Collins.
Yeah.
It's about 50 miles.
50 miles still? Okay.
Yep.
Maybe not be able to hit it, but you never know.
Well, it might be because it's up pretty high.
That's true. And I know there's also, what was that this weekend? I think they were talking about Oleham University. They were talking about the Cheyenne DMR. So at some point they may be part of the, be able to talk on some of the repeaters here. So we'll be able to hear more people from up north.
Yeah, it was, I actually, I looked and it was on the, if you look at the RMHAM webpage, it's actually listed there.
Okay.
It'll be the frequency that used to be Brandmeister. So the current thinking, and I haven't got a time frame, is we're not going to carry the Talk Group 100 in Wyoming. It'll be the Wyoming wide that we'll have out of on Lee Hill. And then we're going to probably put the RMHAM wide talk group and North talk group on Beacon Hill between Laramie and Cheyenne. So that was the last I'd heard of the plan. Like I say, I'm not for sure on the piece up in Wyoming, but we just need to get up to Lee Hill and get the 2 C bridges talking and some different things. So I haven't heard of the time frame, but I did see that it was mentioned on the plan on the Rocky Mountain Ham website.
We'll get it all set up, and then eventually, you never know, we might be neighbors there. Pat, Weld County decides to succeed and become part of Wyoming.
Hey, we'd love to have you.
Well, you'll have to get a DMR radio, Pat.
I have a DMR radio. I don't know how to use it.
Well, here, I'm doing code plugs.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get it up on the damn web. I didn't know I had it on.
Hi, Kat.
Hey, Mark, you said you're going to come up. You can help me figure it out.
What kind of radio is it?
It's the
Anytone 878.
878.
Oh, okay, that'll give me an excuse to get the one in my truck done. I'm doing one for my. I didn't need a new radio, but I was convinced to get another one, so I gotta stop doing radios.
You just sold me one and you bought another one?
Well, it was because it was, let's see, it was cute.
What is it? Is that the RF Link?
No, this is an SL300. This was a VHF one.
Oh, okay.
I've got an SL3500E for UHF, but this one I can throw it in my backpack and have it when I go to the site for tests and repeaters. So.
Well, I've been very happy with the 8800. Thank you very much, sir.
Okay, that's good.
Just a reminder, everybody needs to put their call sign by their name.
Brian.
Brian and Kat.
Kat. We're gonna give board members a hard time. Gotta lead by example.
And Jerry.
Oh, look at that. All the board members.
Not me.
Come on.
N0OUW. I got Jerry's.
Yeah. Everybody knows Jerry's.
W0UM. That's somebody's.
That's Kat.
Oh, that's Kat. Okay.
And then AF0W is Brian.
That's right. AF.
So I'm Tim Floyd. I joined.
Good evening, Tim.
Pre-COVID, and really am missing out on joining you guys. So I was able to join tonight. Taking care of the grandkids, so I may not speak too much, but I definitely will take in the information.
Well, welcome.
All right, get the grandkids up and let them watch some of this. It's never too early to get them started.
That's right.
He's busy watching YouTube about dinosaurs.
Well, maybe in 10 months he can talk to Santa Claus again. Less than 10 months, actually. Santa wants to do it earlier this year. If we can pull it off, we might end up doing 2 weeks instead of just 1 week. And for those of you who are curious of what I'm talking about, end of 2020, we did a Santa on the air on the repeaters. And it was really interesting because we actually had a gentleman who actually is Santa Claus. He lives in Longmont. He's written a couple of books. Really nice guy. I've met him a couple of times at some events, and he was brought to us by one of our board members or one of the club members and said, "Hey, he'd like to play Santa Claus for you." So he does not have his ticket, but what we did, and I found out that it's kind of a gray line, but I found it was legal, is I actually, he did Echo Link and played Santa Claus, and I remote controlled his computer. So I was still a station operator just remotely. And talking to the ARL, they said, well, we don't see a problem with that. You have control, so you follow the rules. So I'm trying to get him to get his ticket, but John's got a bunch of other things going on, and I got to get with him here in the next month or so and see if I can get him to take the test, at least get his technician license.
Either that or tell him you're going to put him on the naughty list.
I told him that, but he goes, elves don't put Santa on the naughty list. Santa puts elves on the naughty list and other people. But no, he's he really enjoyed it. And he definitely wants to do it again this year. So we definitely are going to probably do Santa on the air again this year. Probably use the same call sign N0P. So I'm going to reserve it here before too long. And then we're thinking about doing almost 2 weeks of Santa on the air instead of just 5 days. So we'll see what happens.
Looks like Brian is nice and comfy in a chair tonight.
John Einberger,
Yeah,
you
that
don't
is
have your
correct.
call sign up.
Oh, sorry, I will do that.
Thank you.
Thanks for reminding me.
You're all invited to come down to Green Valley. It's been a little cool, but starting Friday, it's supposed to be up in the upper 70s to 80s for the next 10 days.
Yeah.
Oh,
Thanks, Pat.
Thought I'd rub it in a little bit, just a little bit.
Come on and visit us. It's nice and cool.
Yeah, great.
I can read Pat's mind. You keep your cold weather.
Well, that's why we're here, of course.
Yeah. Modern technology. Now we can all be together anyways, even though you're down there.
Oh yeah, this works great. No problem, as they say.
Well, that's, we'll have to figure out, have to work with Chuck once we can start meeting together again is, be prepared for the, the mixed mode virtual meeting and in person. So
yeah. We're going to figure something out. I'll be talking to you and the guys at RM Ham about that and see what we can do. I've got some stuff already. I think we can
do that. We've already when we did our first RM Ham University this year, that was a mixed mode. It worked well. It does take a little to get some of the equipment up, but I think with a little smaller place, if we can get away from a lot of the distancing, I think, with the two-way audio and some things that we can do, it's probably something we need to start prepping. I've been doing it for basically this whole year, and we're to the point now we're trying to deal with lighting and green screens, but always something. Every time I go down to do another session, I come home and spend too much money on Amazon. I think, I need that at the house.
Well, based on the meeting this weekend for RM Ham, their training session, the Nerd Fest, I've already got a couple things marked on Amazon on my wish list. So,
well, because
keep the economy going.
Because of our Thursday night net, and Jerry and all you guys, I bought the Nano VNA. I haven't hooked it up yet. I don't know. It comes with no instructions, so it's going to take a little bit of work to figure it out.
And even if you got the instructions, they'd be in Chinese.
Yeah.
So
well, on the back of it, it is in Chinese. How about that?
I've got the one that's a little bit bigger called the Mini 1300. It's like a Nano VNA, but it's got a little extra stuff to it. It doesn't work half bad. I finally got it calibrated and got it working. So,
well, I have to work on that. We'll see.
Yeah, they say a lot of people rave on those things.
Yeah. So what do you got on order from the weekend?
Who, me?
Chuck.
What do you mean on order from the week? You
From
talking about for?
Amazon, from the
Oh,
Fest.
it's not on order yet. It's actually on my wish list.
Oh.
It's the switcher pad to switch the cameras and stuff.
Yeah.
That you guys show. And
I've got one if you
somewhere.
want to play with it.
Okay.
I broke down, well, initially we had 32 buttons and it was like, I'm not going to use many. And, we're talking about maybe putting the second one in.
Right.
But I use it as well for if I've got run a double monitor and watching YouTube, I can be watching and typing something, with coding, and I've got a button program to start and stop YouTube.
Oh, okay.
So rather than have to take the mouse over to YouTube and start or stop the video or rewind it, I can do it with the Stream Deck.
Yeah, the one I got, I think the one I looked at is, I think it's the 24 port one, 24 buttons, something like that.
I think there's a 16,
or maybe it's 16
and an 8.
Yeah, maybe it's 16. Whatever the one was, that's on Amazon. So I put it in my little basket, and I've got there was something else from the Nerd Fest that I put in there as well. I was looking for the what's that thing called? The handle thing that you were using for the cameras for stabilizer.
If you want to, if you want to play with mine, I was going to do that when you guys were doing this stuff at the park. I was going to bring it over. It seems to work well.
Okay, yeah, I've got a nice 4K camera that I bought, and it's got a handle thing to it. If I can get a stabilizer for it as well, it might be even nicer, make it more stable. So we got a couple more people join us. Darryl with his glasses. Welcome, Darryl. Doug, Dayton. Everybody's got their call signs. Thank you very much for that. Pat appreciates it, as always.
I got everybody so far.
Yeah, we got 25 people so far. We've got 5 more minutes, so.
Actually got 26 because Kat's
26?
over there too.
Oh, am I missing Kat? I've got it on the grid display. I don't see her, so.
She's on page 2.
Oh. I'm on the grid one where I see everybody, so I don't have a page 2, which is weird. Maybe I'm just blind somewhere. I don't know.
Well, right at the bottom, it says 26 participants.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Oh, there's Darryl. I haven't seen him for a bit. Nice glasses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah,
Chuck,
it's good to see you, Darryl.
if you go to the right-hand side of the screen, mouse over there, you'll see an arrow come up, and then you can change pages.
Well, that's what I did. I went to gallery view, which is supposed to show everything. And I'm seeing 25 squares, but I'm not seeing 26. And I'm not seeing an arrow either.
You gonna have to put your mouse like halfway horizontally, halfway down on the right-hand side.
Yeah.
Right.
There's an arrow that says page 2.
Oh, okay. I thought the gallery view listed everybody.
Only 25.
Only 25 on gallery view? Okay. So only can see 25 smiling faces.
Who's smiling?
There's some people smiling, at least in their pictures. We're not smiling because of the weather or COVID, but we're smiling because we all like ham radio.
Well, we got our appointment for our first shot next Wednesday.
Oh, good for you. Both my in-laws got their second shots already, and they both got sick after the second shot, so
That's
for about a day or
people,
two.
A lot of people have said that.
Yeah.
They said that's how you know it works.
I had my second
Get a
shot
little
Friday.
sick instead of really, really sick.
I had my second shot Friday, no problems.
Oh, good.
My wife's due to get her second shot, I think next Thursday. So my health provider, they still haven't decided whether there's really a pandemic or not. I heard word one from them.
Yep.
All right, I found the arrow. I found out what I'm doing wrong. It's my screen.
You find page 2?
Yeah, it's my display, the way it's set up. I actually went into a different view where I show the participants on the right-hand side and the grid on the left, and then I get the arrow now. It's because I'm casting from my laptop to a bigger screen so I can see everybody better. And I can multitask and have multiple things going on. So my setup in my loft ham shack here is a little goofy. I got crap all over the place.
I was gonna say, you know, you got to think about doing a little house cleaning, spring cleaning. It's that time.
Yeah, I know. Well, I'm in the process of spring cleaning. The problem is they're all projects I'm working on, a lot of it.
We got a new one, John Howell with no call sign. Oh, there you go.
Is that quick
Thank you,
enough
John.
for you?
That was quick. Thanks, John.
Yep, perfect. Thanks.
I got about 2 more minutes and then we'll get started. We'll make this as painless as possible, like every time we get together. Try to make it a little bit fun. Just so everybody knows, if you do have a question for Jason this evening, if you would put it in the chat for me, I would appreciate it. Jason really doesn't have a presentation per se. It's more like a presidential debate. So I'll be asking questions and he's going to answer them for us. So if you have a question, we've got a list of questions already, but if you have a question, just give them to me. And is that about right, Jason? It'll be like a presidential debate. So if you're running by yourself.
That's the best description I've heard of this presentation yet.
I'm assuming that we
Somebody
can
fact
ask,
checked you?
I'm assuming we can ask questions live as well as we go
Yes.
along. And
Yeah.
not okay.
Yeah, you just throw them in the chat and I'll throw them in there and we'll pick Jason's brain and go from there.
Well,
So
I guess that's what I just asked. Do we have to throw them in the chat or can we do this real time?
no, if you want to do it real time too, we could do that as well. I'll let you do that. Just let me
Okay,
know.
thanks.
You know, if you want to throw a hand up or something, if you know, so I know that you're interested. So yeah, just as long as you don't argue with yourself, Jason, we're good. You know, we don't want like the first presidential debate. Okay.
No, I have been known to argue with myself occasionally.
Yeah, but then you get the answers you want, though. That's the problem, right?
I just can't ever figure out if I've won or lost the debate.
Well, you know, you've had an intelligent conversation.
Yeah, maybe. It depends on who you ask.
But somehow Jason already has the questions. So
There you
just
go.
like a debate, you're saying?
Yeah, just like a debate. Yeah, the questions we first brought up were from the board members. So we just at least wanted to get something started. And it should cover hopefully a good chunk of what the discussion is about and what Jason's going to tell us this evening. So